It's time for our second of 3 races this weekend in the Ginetta GT Academy here on the Snetterton 300 circuit. The race yesterday was certainly full of drama, and expecting more of the same today. We've got a couple of drivers a little out of position after that aforementioned drama yesterday, and it should produce a pretty interesting race. We've certainly got an interesting situation developing in the championship with just 5 points covering Ramyead and Nick White at the top of the championship table. And Nick White, if he can repeat the performance that he had yesterday, could move into the championship lead at the end of this second race of the weekend. Well, the rain that was forecast all week long for today has thankfully not arrived. The sun is shining. I'm reliably informed it's nice and warm outside at the moment as well, and that is great news for the spectators who have gathered here in their masses at Snetterton to enjoy a great day of racing. For the drivers, though, perhaps slightly less so. It's going to be very hot work inside these Ginetta G56s over the next 20 minutes. It may only be a 20-minute race, but they have to obviously sit in the cars for quite some time in the assembly area before they leave. Then they're sat on the grid. Now they've got to do a green flag lap. They end up in the cars for 45 minutes or so, and in this weather, it's not all that pleasant. Ramyead, though, starting from pole position, that is pleasant for him. He needs to try and make a better start than he did yesterday, though, to fend off Nick White, who once again starts alongside him. John Kearney, the Irishman, starts third, and then it's Thomas Shelley for Century Motorsport, fourth on the grid. Mark Elman and Emma Tomlinson share row number 3. SPG Motorsport ahead of the first of the rookies, all of them run by Want to Race. Michael Orant in his debut weekend starts second of the rookies, and then Matt Shaw, who is the runaway championship leader in that rookie class, but had a retirement yesterday and subsequently was given a penalty on the grid for this one. Paul Livesey and Amy Tomlinson are next. Then it's Lucy Tomlinson and Charlotte Lowe on row 6. And the back row of the grid is where we will find Phil McGarty in the Ali Rushforth Motorsport prepared car. So, the 2 big stories yesterday. Ramyead started from pole, lost the lead to Nick White through the opening couple of corners after a bit of door banging through turns 1 and 2, but White did get through and claimed the race win. He led from that point onwards. The other big story was regarding Matt Shaw, who I said is the runaway rookie class leader. Well, he was battling with Thomas Shelley for third position in that race yesterday. Went for a big lunge into the final corner at Murray's, and it didn't work. They ended up making contact, lots of damage done to both cars. They were both out on the spot, and the race ended under the safety car as a result of that. In fact, it was red flagged, but whilst they were behind the safety car, if you see what I mean. The end result of all of that was that Matt Shaw was blamed. He was given a penalty for that, and he will therefore have to line up 8th on the grid. He was given a 5-place grid penalty for this race. The grid for this one being based upon second fastest lap times in qualifying, so he should have been starting up on the second row of the grid, but will instead be starting a lot further back than that. John Kearney was also a non-finisher yesterday. Of course, he's going to be starting third on the grid, so looking to try and turn his weekend around. Thomas Shelley likewise, and Thomas will be starting fourth. So actually, the car started third and fourth on the grid, both failing to finish in yesterday's first race of the weekend. So things can only get better for them, really. In the championship, Ramyead 9 wins to Nick White's 6 victories. A bit more consistency for Nick White is what's allowing him to only be 5 points adrift of Ravi, despite not having as many wins. But Nick White, if he can claim another win today, like I said, could well move into a clear championship lead. He's already taken the championship record for the most class podium finishes in a single season. He had 14 coming into the weekend. He's now claimed a 15th podium finish yesterday. That is a 100% podium record for Nick White. He has never finished off the top 3 all season long. Ramyead, meanwhile, has 9 class wins this year so far. The championship record, set by Mark Warren a year ago, is 10, and that was over a slightly shorter season, admittedly, but Ramyead only 1 win away from equaling the record set by Mark Warren. But we saw yesterday he's going to have a tough time beating Nick White. He was half a second quicker than him in qualifying, but once we went racing, that deficit really seemed to evaporate. If you give Nick White the track position advantage, that was more than enough to counteract maybe a raw pace advantage from Ramyead. So the start of the race important. Nick White not utilising all of his grid box there, is he, though? He's a long way back from where he could be lined up, so already giving a few feet of real estate away to Ramyead, who will now face the starting gantry. Those red lights about to go on, and 20 minutes of Ginetta GT Academy action about to get underway. Ramyead on pole, Nick White alongside him. A good start made again by Nick White, even better than yesterday. Actually, they again make contact before they even get to turn one, but White has gone through clearly this time, so an even better start for him, or a worse start for Ramyead, whichever way you choose to look at it. Sweeping round the outside, there goes Thomas Shelley into third, getting the better of John Kearney on the run to turn one. But Nick White has done it again, and Ramyead, despite that little tap in the tail, just couldn't quite find the traction to keep Nick White at bay. Way wide goes Thomas Shelley at the Wilson hairpin, re-emerges onto the racing line, still in third, but didn't have the fastest run through that corner. And there, the turquoise and black car is Matt Shaw, looking to try and get up the inside of Lucy Tomlinson. So Matt Shaw, for really the first time this season, has a bit of a fight on his hands to get into the class podium places. On the brakes into Agostini, Ramyead up behind Nick White. Did he give him an assist into the corner there? White is certainly wide of the apex. Ramyead, I think, maybe decided better of taking advantage of that little touch, and lets Nick White hold on to the lead. But these two know how significant this is for the championship. A race win worth 35 points, second place worth 30 points. So worst case scenario here, Nick White ends up breaking even with Ramyead and they end up tied. Although Ramyead's gained a point already for pole position, gets a wheel on the grass there. Does the second place man turning into Williams. Gathers it together though. But yeah, point for pole already going to Ramyead. So he's got one bonus point back. Means that if he were to finish second to Nick White, he would actually still have a 1 point advantage, but then there's also a bonus point for the fastest lap, which in yesterday's race Nick White was able to take. So those bonus points, as close as this championship race is, are going to prove to be important, I think. Matt Shaw has found a way there past Lucy Tomlinson, so picking his way up the order pretty well. Emma Tomlinson, remember, was on the rookie class pole, and it was Emma who claimed the class win yesterday after Matt's non-finish. That was her second class win of 2022. Down into Murray's then at the end of lap one. Nick White leading the way. Ramyead going with him though, and as you'd sort of expect, they were only separated by half a second or so at the time of the safety car in yesterday's race. They come then at the end of the first racing lap. It's 0.5 of a second again between the two of them, as Ramyead once more runs down the grass there into Riches. Then Shelley and Kearney. There is Emma Tomlinson, a really strong 5th place overall, that from Emma Tomlinson, the class leader. That's really impressive stuff, and she's keeping Mark Ellman at bay. Paul Livesey, another within the GTA class, is next in line, and then you get the second of the rookies, Michael Laurent, in the number 55 car. Emma just drifts a little bit wide there at Wilson, so Mark Ellman gets the overlap on the way towards Palmer's. And through the left-hander they will go, with Emma Tomlinson staying in front. Now the race leaders very close together. Is Ramyead going to have a dive? I think he's going to think about it, but Nick White moves across to cover. Fends him off for the time being. Ramyead asking the right questions, though, of his championship rival. This already looks like being a more competitive race between the two than yesterday, where Nick was able to break a few car lengths clear of Ramyead and then sort of control the race. Although, in fairness, in the early stages of yesterday's race, White did look a bit vulnerable. I made the comment that the front end of the car just didn't look like it was getting into the apexes quite like he would have wanted it to. Maybe low tyre pressures or temperatures on the fronts were causing that. I wonder if it's the same thing again in race 2, because Ramyead, up until now, has been able to stick right with Nick White. White with a better exit onto the Bentley straight, just pulls a car length or so on the number 17 car. There go Shelley and Kearney, then Tomlinson and Ellman, and then this battle going on behind, Livesey, Orant and Shaw. Matt Shaw looking up the inside of Michael Orant. That's for 8th place overall, but second of the rookies. And Matt Shaw wriggles his way out of Brundle Nelson, and he can't take this for granted, and I'm sure he's not taking this for granted, that he's going to get up there and claim a class win, because Emma Tomlinson's disappearing up the road. She's running the same sort of pace as Mark Ellman, as you can see, because she's keeping Mark Ellman behind her, and gapping that group that includes her, in a way, biggest rookie class rival. It really is now, because Michael Orant goes for a spin out of Murray's. I was about to say Michael Orant. Oh, and there's another spin in the background. Two cars off in separate moments. That's one of the Tomlinsons, I think. Oh no, it might have been Charlotte Lowe. No, there goes Charlotte Lowe, so that must have been Amy Tomlinson having a spin going through Coram and Murray's. I was about to say Michael Orant might be a difficult man for Matt Shaw to pass, but he then dropped it coming out of the final turn and made life very easy for the rookie championship leader. Ramyead there drifting wide over the grass out of the Wilson hairpin. Had closed right in there with the fastest lap of the race at 2:08.8. Here's the replay then, so keep an eye to the car there that's already started to get sideways going into the corner. Michael Orrant almost gathered that together, but he ran wide over the curb, lost traction on the sort of green AstroTurf that's on the other side of the curb, and around he went, and then a spin in sympathy for Amy Tomlinson behind as she was trying to get the car slowed up into Murray's. It's a really tricky couple of corners there to end the lap, Coram and Murray's, and catching a couple of them out there in the early stages. So, fastest lap for Ramyead, bonus point going his way, although Nick White on this third lap of the race has got purple in Sector 1, meaning faster than anyone's been so far, and about 3/10 quicker than Ramyead on this lap so far. Now they go down the back straight, where the slipstream maybe gives Ravi a small advantage. Is Nick White going to put in another good sector time, though? Yes, he is. Purple again, so this looks as though now Nick White is going to get that bonus point back. Is significant for his championship, for sure. Needs to try and score every point that he can. Really impressed here with Emma Tomlinson, though. 5th place overall. And keeping Mark Elman behind her. Tricky situation this for Mark, because he's not really racing Emma for points here at all. You score points within your own individual class. So if you're a rookie, it doesn't really matter where you finish in the overall running order. But he's still physically battling with Emma on the track, and if he feels that he's quicker than Emma Tomlinson, he'll want to get through, of course. But Emma Tomlinson, who finished yesterday's race in 4th place overall, although that was after Matt Shaw and John Kearney's tangle. You can see both of those cars repaired, though. Raceway Motorsport preparing the John Kearney machine. Raceway Motorsport leading the race now as well in the hands of Nick White, which is something we've seen a lot today. Raceway finishing 1st and 2nd in the GT4 class in the first British GT race today, so they've had lots to celebrate already, and hopefully a bit more they'll be thinking after this race. Now, Emma Tomlinson did not make friends with the apex there through Wilson. Drifted out wide. Mark Elman tries to get up the inside. I said it's a difficult situation this for Elman, arguably an even tougher one for Emma, because actually she doesn't need to defend from Mark Elman really, and in a way defending from him might allow Matt Shaw to close in even more quickly, but if she just lets him through, she's got no buffer then between herself and her fellow rookie runner, and she leads that class at the moment, so she wants to try and keep as much of a margin between herself and Matt Shaw, who you can see is gaining time. First sector on this lap, he was a 10th and a bit quicker than the race leader, the class leader. Race leader, Nick White, slightly slower actually than Ramyead by about 10th and a half or so in sector 1. So White, having just set that fastest lap, might be about to lose it. Mark Elman nearly loses control there through Williams, drifts way wide of the apex, got on the dirty side of the road, and that means Matt Shaw will now surely close in on him down the back straight. Actually not quite able to get within striking range, is he, into the braking zone under the bridge. Purple middle sector for Ramyead as well, so Ramyead really starting to close in on White on this lap. The gap could only be a couple of car lengths now as they come towards the end of this 4th lap of the race, ticking towards half race distance. There is the lead gap. It is only a couple of car lengths, but it's still in the favour of Nick White, the number 57 car. Ramyead run by Century Motorsport, who also had cars towards the sharp end in both classes in British GT actually. Two teams engaged in battle again here in this Ginetta GT Academy race, the 2nd of 3 this weekend. Battle Riches down to the braking zone. Ramyead going to have a look. No, not quite close enough. See Nick White though kind of creeping over to an early apex there. Didn't want to let Ramyead slip up the inside, and again Ramyead's weaving around in the mirrors, just trying to distract Nick White, create that flash of colour in the mirrors that might make him miss a braking point, miss a turning point. He hits a curb a bit too hard, and well, maybe it worked because Ramyead was quicker off Williams. He's going to think about the inside line, almost commits to it, almost gets into the back of Nick White again at that corner, and does now get into the back of him and spins him. Around goes Nick White, and that was pretty rough stuff, wasn't it, there from Ramyead. It's been such a wonderfully clean battle between these two all season long. Anything but on that occasion. So Nick White goes around and Ramyead then into the lead, but I think it's fair to say that will be discussed afterwards. I mean, he nearly got him going into the corner, sort of swiped away at him, and then White's obviously really slowed the car down mid-corner, but Ramyead's just carried the speed through the turn. And, well, a bit of a miscalculation there, I think, but we'll see what the clerk of the course thinks. Wondered for a second whether Ramyead might ease off the throttle to allow Nick White to go back through, but of course White fell behind Shelley and Kearney as well, so that wasn't really an option. Now here comes Emma Tomlinson. She is now having to defend from Mark Ellman, and look at Matt Shaw, he's almost there with them, but she's keeping Mark at bay. Matt Shaw in 7th overall, 2nd within the class. Ellman showing ahead of Tomlinson on the timing time. That's because he was ahead technically at the end of sector 2 by a nose, but as we saw, Emma with the inside line was able to hang on to the place. Round Coram through the left-hander now, Murray's who gets the better exit from this corner. But it's not Matt Shaw, is it? That wasn't a great exit. He's not really been getting on well with that corner all weekend, has he? That's where he had his incident earlier on. Across the line they go then into Rich's corner. That is Emma Tomlinson still fending off Mark Ellman. The lead gap now 3.4 seconds, by the way, from Ramyead to Shelley, with Nick White fired up. Nick White, I would imagine, in 4th position, only half a second behind Kearney. Ellman out a little bit wide through Wilson. Does that open the door for Matt Shaw? He's got his nose in the gap, and then a bit of oversteer from Ellman on the exit. Shaw surely is going to have to commit to a move here sooner rather than later. We're into the second half of the race, and his chances of claiming a 12th class victory of the season rather hinge on how quickly he gets past Mark Ellman, who's not in his class, but he's a physical buffer between Matt and Emma, the class leader. Out of Agostini they go. Meanwhile, Nick White on the tail of John Kearney, and well, I told you he was fired up. That was a lovely move, that, from Nick White, back past Kearney. And he moves up into 3rd position. Thomas Shelley, the next target. He'll be about a second and a half or so up the road. As along the Bentley straight there we'll go. So there is Ramyead. Purple first sector, by the way, for Ramyead that time around. The middle sector is a couple of tenths off the best that we've seen so far. But if Nick White can get back into 2nd place, has he then got pace to chase after Ravi? Perhaps not, based on what we saw from Ravi in qualifying yesterday. Emma Tomlinson nibbling away at the grass there, turning through Brundle, trying to take the tightest line possible, keep Mark Ellman behind her. Bomb hole, and towards the end of another lap. 7 minutes to go, 1/3 of the race remaining. And Mark Ellman enjoying this battle, I'm sure. Stuck between the top 2 rookies. But Matt Shaw is, I think, maybe being a little circumspect today after the contact that he had at that part of the circuit yesterday. New fastest lap for Ramyead, 2:08.036. So that was a really, really good first sector then, because it wasn't improving the other sectors. Mark Ellman peaks to the inside of Emma Tomlinson. Riches. Again, Emma fends him off, screeching of Michelin tyres as they slide their way around Rich's corner. Onto the brakes again. And Ellman closing in, and that was almost a repeat of what we just saw between Ramyead and Shelley. It sort of scared Emma Tomlinson off the road, though. She'll have dirt on the tyres now. Mark Ellman, if he doesn't commit now, might not get a better chance, but just wasn't close enough himself into Palmer. And so their positions remain unchanged. Now Matt Shaw closing in a bit more on Mark Ellman. They turn through the tight left-hander at Agostini's up towards Hamilton. Dip over the edge of the track there for Matt Shaw. Norris Cross on the back of his car, as you'll see on all of the rookie drivers, to say that they are in their rookie season of racing. And Matt has been incredibly impressive so far this season. Oh, that's Orant, I think, wasn't it, with Charlotte Lowe. So Michael Orant's been off the track already. He was recovering and was on the tail of Charlotte for 4th in the rookies, but they've had some sort of coming together down at Agostini. He was up the inside, snatched a break, clattered into the side of her, around went Charlotte, and then Michael bounced back onto the track. So that was a little on the clumsy side. Wouldn't be surprised to see the penalty applied there post-race. So the leader in the rookie class, Emma Tomlinson, turns through into Coram Corner. White, incidentally, on the tail of Thomas Shelley now as well, so that's fight for second place worth watching. Here they come, look, across the line. Purple middle sector for Nick White, so it's been a quick lap. He's got a slipstream across the line. Can he beat a 2:07.9 though? That's the lap that Ramyead just did, and the answer is no, a 2:08.0, so maximum points from this race at the moment going to Ravi. Pole position, fastest lap, and in 4.5 minutes, maybe a race win, but Nick White wants second place from this. Looks to the inside into the Wilson hairpin. Needs to be careful not to slither into the back of Shelley's car, which he avoids doing, thankfully. Of course, in Nick's mind, he'll be thinking, well, hang on, if Ravi's going to get a penalty here for that contact, I need to get past Thomas Shelley for second place. That is one way of doing it, Nick, right round the outside at Palmer's. I don't think Thomas expected that. He thought if he braked early and covered the inside line, Nick wasn't going to go through, but he made it too easy. Right round the outside goes Nick White. He's later on the brakes into Agostini, and he does take second place away. That was some superb driving that from Nick. And as I said, if he is now anticipating that Ramyead may get a penalty, not saying he will, but Nick will be arguing that case, I'm sure, then second place on the road could become first place on corrected results. So Nick White is going to keep on charging here. Interesting to see what his pace is like in clean air now. 2:07.9 for Ramyead, by the way, is, well, it was a 9.65. Even White did a 9.86 yesterday, so fractionally quicker. Pole position pace, though, 2:06.1, so much slower in race trim. These drivers will tweak the setup of the car a little bit to allow for the race distance. But Ramyead perhaps just kind of stroking it home now as well. Really, he's got this big lead, 5.5 seconds over Nick White. Well, in fact, 5.5 seconds it was over Thomas Shelley at the start of the lap, as you can see on the live timing tower. He's gone up whilst White was battling away with Thomas Shelley, who now has to turn to defence once again to try and keep John Kearney behind. Now, Mark Ellman has got past Emma Tomlinson, so that means this is now the fight for the rookie class lead. So Matt Shaw has 2 laps to try and find a way past Emma Tomlinson, who made life very difficult for Mark Ellman. She's not going to make it any easier for Matt Shaw, with whom she's actually fighting for class position. Down to Rich as they go. He looks to the inside. Oh, and then darts back over onto the racing line. Driving with a bit more confidence. Oh no, that's Nick White! That is Nick White and Thomas Shelley. I don't believe it. Nick White's gone off again down at the Wilson hairpin. And again, I fear he might have been on the receiving end of contact. Shelley's bonnet now coming loose. He needs to slow down, otherwise that's going to go flying. And he does pull off to the side of the road. Wouldn't have been able to see where he was going there, I don't think. So Thomas Shelley out of the race. And Nick White, well, he's back behind John Kearney again now. He's third place once more. So now, everything I just said about a possible penalty for Ramyead handing the victory back to Nick White sort of goes out of the window. So Nick White then, oh, and now Mark Ellman nearly throwing it away as well, coming out of Agostini. What on earth happened there then? Between Shelley and White, Shelley's damage was all on the front, so that rather suggests that he was the aggressor in that situation, but let's see what we can see. Oh, he's battling with Kearney. No, so White's going to have a spin all on his own. Kearney goes up the inside of Shelley, who's then so focused on getting the switch back that he didn't realise there was a car broadside in front of him, and he T-boned Nick White. So what a bizarre set of circumstances that was. Nick White having his own spin, and poor Thomas Shelley, actually, I take it all back, Thomas. That was not your fault really at all. He would have been unsighted by John Kearney's car, which had just come skating up the inside of him with the front brakes locked, and would not have been expecting to see Nick White stationary on the racing line. So Ramyead's going to win the race now on the road anyway by a decent margin. We'll have to wait and see if there is an amendment after the race, but Ravi nearly 10 seconds now up the road from Nick White, from from John Kearney will be in second place. This now becomes the battle, doesn't it, for the rookie lead between Emma Tomlinson and Matt Shaw. 5th place overall they are battling for. Emma now back in the top 5 after Thomas Shelley's retirement. Can Matt Shaw find a way past that, down into Riches? Right on that white line, turning into the corner. As they head for Wilson Hairpin, best overtaking opportunity on the track. I don't think Shaw's close enough. Looks at the inside, locks up the brakes, nearly gets into Emma Tomlinson there. A few near misses we've had in this race under braking. Shaw another one there. Would have had the situation from yesterday afternoon flashing through his mind then, I'm sure, but he managed to pull it up, thankfully. So, down towards Agostini, another good place to pounce if you're feeling brave on the brakes. Shaw is later on the brakes, but doesn't even consider going to the inside, pulls to the outside, tries to carry the good speed off the corner. But it's been resurfaced, that part of the track, only on the inside line. So the inside a lot grippier than the outside now at Agostini, same with a couple of other places as well. Well, been a lively race this one. Ramyead has managed to get himself back to the front of the field, but I'll be very interested to see his reaction after the race and try and gauge from his body language just how much he feels it's right to celebrate. Always going to be discussed when you've got contact between two drivers fighting for the lead, especially when they are championship contenders, but it's not the way that either of them would have wanted that battle to end. Been racing superbly cleanly with each other all year long, and just a little clash here at Snetterton with another race to come later on though. Nick White has an opportunity to try and bounce back. It is Ramyead who will see the checkered flag first though, and that is the 10th time this season that he's done so. Ramyead wins. Second place will go the way of John Kearney. Now what's going to go in the rookie class? Surely Matt Shaw's not going to try it up the inside into the last corner again. This is where it all went wrong for him yesterday. Emma Tomlinson covers the inside. Now she's got to be careful to get off the corner well. Matt Shaw didn't get off the corner too well, so I think Emma Tomlinson should hang on to the rookie class lead. And Matt Shaw will have to settle for second place. Emma Tomlinson making some big strides forward at the moment, getting quicker and quicker with every round, and collects another race win, this one fully on merit, not because Matt Shaw dropped out of the race as he did yesterday, but she defended from the lead through the entirety of that race. That was a really, really good performance. So Ramyead then gets himself the race victory, and by 11.5 seconds as well, he is the first home. Kearney second, White third, Elman fourth, and then the rookie class leader winner, indeed, Emma Tomlinson, in 5th position. So provisionally then that will give 35, 36, 37 more points to Ravi, because he got the bonus points as well in that one for fastest lap and for starting from pole position. So 37 points for Ramyead puts him on 522 points, and Nick White, finishing third, will get just the 26 points. So 506 points for him now. Which means it's 16 points the advantage for Ravi provisionally going into the third and final race of the weekend later on. 3 more events to go this season though. Plenty more points to be scored. Ramyead then wins in slightly controversial fashion after a clash with his championship rival Nick White. John Kearney comes home second, Nick White third. Not quite a Raceway Motorsport 1-2 in that one, but a second and third place finish nonetheless. Mark Elman then was fourth ahead of Emma Tomlinson in 5th, who wins in the rookie class after a race-long defence, first over Mark Elman and then in the latter stages over her rookie rival Matt Shaw. He comes home in 6th. Paul Livesey was 7th. Then it was Lucy Tomlinson, not Louise Tomlinson, Lucy Tomlinson in 8th. Phil McGarty was 9th, Michael Laurent 10th, Amy Tomlinson 11th, Charlotte Lowe 12th. Thomas Shelley was our one non-finisher after that bizarre moment with Nick White down at the Wilson Hairpin. So, more Ginetta GT Academy action to come later on. Let's remind ourselves of what happened in their second race of the weekend. Well, the two championship protagonists clashed almost before the race had really started as Nick White swept past Ramyead to claim the lead into turn 1, as he did yesterday from the outside of the front row of the grid. This time though, Ramyead really was able to apply the pressure to Nick White even more aggressively than he had in yesterday's race. They had a little touchdown at Agostini in the opening stages of the race, and that would not be the last time the two of them would trade places. Mike Laurent was running second in the rookie class, but had a spin coming out of Marie's corner. That handed second to Matt Shaw, who then chased down class leader Tomlinson. This, though, the defining moments of the race. Ramyead attacking Nick White, really attacked him going out of Agostini, spun the lead around, and that will be discussed after the race, I am sure. White, though, was then charging his way back through, made a lovely dive up the inside of John Kearney into Oggies, and then set off after Thomas Shelley in second position. White was on an absolute charge, managed to close in on Thomas, who was a bit overly cautious through Palmer's. Round the outside went Nick White, and he completed the manoeuvre on the run down towards Agostini. He was back into second place. It looked as though he was going to limit the damage done, but then a bizarre set of circumstances saw White spin as Thomas Shelley was dicing with John Kearney. Tried to get the switch back, didn't expect Nick White's stationary car to be there, and the damage took Shelley out of the race. Ramyead, though, claimed his 10th victory of the season, and as long as the result stands, he will extend his championship margin to 16 points now, heading into the third and final race of the weekend.